Sunday dinner. There's just something about Sunday dinner that makes it the best meal of the week. Maybe it's the steaming bowls of mashed potatoes and thick brown gravy. Maybe it's the tasty tender chicken fried up golden brown. Whatever it is, Sunday dinner is it. The best meal of the week.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yo, this technology shit is fucking out of control.
I don't even know. This is like my third time using Zoom, so.
My bad. I should have like warned you, but like I'm trying to figure this thing out myself. I literally had to do like massive tests yesterday because I'm like, I don't get the Zoom thing. And then I had this whole setup. I got my microphone and all, you know.
Yeah, you got the whole professional setup. I like it.
I know, but if you know how it goes. If I showed you how I was like, how it really looked like behind this, it's you know how we do. We got to make it like look good.
I know. I just did it in my bedroom right now. I was like, what looks cool? So I don't know.
No, because you know what? Like this pops up because you got that purple shirt and then you got like the Wade in the back.
Yeah. I'm kind of I'm color coordinating. Yeah.
Yeah. I was no, but thanks for coming on. How you been and everything like that?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been I look crazy right now. I have no makeup on, but that's okay. I've been just like in the house since March. You know, it's probably kind of the similar way if you're still in New York, but California's just been locked down more than everywhere else in the country. So especially LA.
I know. I feel like I'm trying to think the last time I saw you. Was it either? I don't think it was Peach Jam. I think maybe it was. Maybe when I visited LA, I think we had gotten like dinner or something like that, right? Or
yeah, that's the last time I saw you. Really?
When you took me around to like you showed me a little bit around the Staples Center. Yeah.
Yeah, I swear I saw you in New York after that. It's some kind of like.
Oh, yeah, the Frankie Williams Classic, right?
Yeah, that's right. Last summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, time flies, man. I know, and it's like, it's crazy. Like, you know, we're both on, you know, New York and LA, like both of them shut down, and like we were both like, you know, doing our things, and then now it's just like we're waiting, I guess, for the sports world to come back, or like it's a very strange time, man.
Right, and for us, it's like that's the longest that it's gonna take to come back. Other people's jobs, they're starting to come back. People are like, "You're not working." I'm like events are not allowed right now. You know, photo shoots are barely a thing, so it's kind of like.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like at one point, like all my friends were not working, so we were all just hanging out. And now it's like they're all back to normal. And then like I'm shooting here and there, like very, very sparingly. It almost feels like the beginning when I first started, which at this point I'll take it. You know, I'm happy to just do anything, but
yeah,
hopefully at least 2021, I don't even know. I have no idea when it's going to come back or what's going to be what, but
I know.
I guess I was more worried that people would forget me. You know what I mean?
No, there's no way. Like you just have to be secure that. Because you think about it, like you're not working, but neither is anybody else taking pictures. So when you come back, it was just like
a mental thing, you know. Because I mean, like you said, we've been in the house since March.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll dive into it again. Thanks for coming on. I just kind of happy that we became. I've known you from Instagram, obviously first, and then like you know we became friends. I guess I want to say throughout the years. Time kind of flies. It's been like 3 years, and we've had the chance to kind of like. Cross paths at cool events like Peach Jam, New York and LA, and even to chop it up outside of photo. And I guess I know a lot of people know you, but I just kind of wanted to like talk on like a photographer kind of level. I thought it'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Because I know we both understand each other's like hustle and grind and stuff like that. So I guess I want to jump into the coolest thing that I thought is the whole watermark thing. And for me, it's like we've had conversations about this, how I've even told you I've used a watermark, I think when I first started, but like to me, it's like, it doesn't feel right using a watermark, but for some reason yours does, you know, like, and I'll see other people's, and I'm sure you've seen it. And for some reason, and I'm sure all the players and everyone else who like is going to view this feels the same way. For some reason, your watermark has became kind of like a staple in the photo industry. As I look at it, that's how I view it. And I want to talk about like, how you feel about that, and also how you've transitioned this, like your text and this watermark into like, which I'm going to assume that you're going to push this into like a huge brand, which is it's in my eyes, it's becoming. How have you pushed that into this like now clothing wear that people are like seemingly rocking. Like everyone in the bubble's rocking your shit. I saw it the other day when I'm watching the game and I'm like, wow. And I think it hit me. I was like, this is so interesting because it was just a watermark on a photo and then now it's what it is. So if you can just talk about that journey, like the journey of the watermark.
Right. No, it's an interesting one. So when I first started taking pictures of just like the guys basketball team at my college, just like local guys, the big social media platform was Facebook. And so this is like, I don't know, 2009 or something when I first got a camera. And so I would take pictures and I didn't have a watermark. And I noticed, you know, people wouldn't give me credit. And I was just like, I'm driving there, I'm taking free pictures. This is my equipment. I was like, I need to put a watermark. So I put my name like in the bottom corner because I'm the same way as most photographers. I don't like watermarks on my photos. Mm-hmm. And so then I ended up doing that and all the players would just crop off my watermark. And so then it made me
so annoying. Oh.
Yeah, it made me more mad. So then I started putting it like right in the center, but then I felt like sometimes it would block out their faces and whatever. And that's kind of where I came up with the idea of like every picture that I watermark is like very strategically placed. Like I kind of have a formula of how to do it because it does take a long time, but like I kind of have it like next to their faces. So the only way that you could get rid of it is like you have to be good at Photoshop and people are going to probably notice that, you know, there was something there. So I started putting it there and then like everybody in my college would complain, we don't want watermarks on photos and this and that. And I was just like, I was so frustrated because I was like, they don't understand how much work and effort goes into taking just this one photo. And then when I started taking pictures during the lockout in 2011 at the Drew League and all these other players, now I'm dealing with NBA players and top level overseas guys. And, you know, they would ask me for pictures and they never complain. They were like, cool, like we just want these moments. We don't care if your name is on it. And that's when Instagram was starting to get big and people would just post my pictures on Twitter or Instagram and they just never complained. It was like James Harden and DeMar DeRozan. And I was like, okay, so if these guys don't care, then I feel more confident watermarking. So over the years, I would like every year I would change my font because I hated like it was too girly. It had like flowers, and then I kind of transitioned to, and then I got to a font where I'm at now. And I remember I decided to keep it because I made business cards. And I had handed out my business card. This was like 2013. And they're like, oh, I've seen this watermark. And I was like, oh, wow. So I realized like my watermark being on these photos is going to associate that photo with me. It's like my autograph, my signature. And I went to school for painting and animation and art. And I feel like what completes a painting when an artist is done, it's their signature.
Yeah, sign it.
So, and I kind of want it to be more subtle. It's not, you know, like those watermarks that are all over the photo. Mine is not, you know, it's kind of little and it's enough where I get enough recognition from it, but it's not so much that it like overwhelms the photo. And so now it's kind of turned into like, people like it. I do get a lot of like pushback from other photographers for saying how ugly it is. And then now over the years, they all have watermarks on their photos because at the end of the day, this is the internet and you realize how fast you could take a picture. Nobody knows who you are. You could take a picture and that celebrity can repost it. And now you have no credit, no money. And you know, you've helped that person's career. So I feel like as artists and the internet, we kind of just have to control our own medium. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes stuff still gets stolen. But for the most part, I feel like it's just kind of, I don't know, now in the basketball world it's become like a thing. Like you said, someone told me to put my watermark on a shirt and I did it almost as a joke, you know? So it's like if somebody takes a picture with my shirt on, it looks like my watermark. And then it just kind of blew up. Like everybody wanted a shirt. And so now during quarantine, I've been working on shorts and I got a whole bunch of other stuff coming. And like you said, in the bubble. So to me, it's just like every time I see it, it just amazes me. But yeah, that's kind of the history of it.
That's crazy. A couple of things I wanted to say about that is like, one, it's like, I know you mentioned that you had a couple other photographers like comment on your watermark. And honestly, like when we spoke about this off camera, it's like, that's the shit that pisses me off. It's because listen, like I don't put watermarks on my photos. That's just my thing. You put on yours and that's your thing. And that's okay. Like, why can't we all just have our own, like if your vibe is your watermark and you want to turn your watermark into a brand, like fucking go ahead. You know, it's like, I'm just sick and tired of like, I feel like a lot of people in the photo world are always kind of stepping on each other for whatever reason. Like, and it's just like so dumb for me. Like I think it's cool that you found your avenue, you found what works and you're just going with it. Like, that's just one thing I just needed to vent because it really bothers me because everyone, it's just like, they make it seem like there's like this set way to do everything when in reality, like you said, it's the internet. we're young, we're doing fun stuff, we're photographing athletes. Like, why can't we just do what we want to do? You know what I mean?
I also feel like it's a new thing. And I feel like for a long time, there was a set way of doing things. Like you work for an agency, you work for a newspaper, you take pictures and then you give it to your editor and that's it. Like you don't take credit. You're just there on behalf of the agency. And so I feel like for years, photographers were very invisible. You know, there's a few that had kind of emerged, but editorially and sports wise, it's like nobody cared who took the picture, you know? So
I agree with you. And I think you've kind of pioneered that too. Like hey, this is the person who's taking these photos, right? I mean, which has made it cool for other people. Like, I mean, at least for me, like I look at it like, wow, look, this girl is doing photo, but everyone knows her. Now she's doing clothing. I don't think it's no different than me trying a podcast. Like, if this will get anywhere, I don't know, but I'm just doing it because I just want to do it and I want to have fun. Yeah. That's it. But people, like you said, in the old and like that traditional way, they'll look at something like what you've done or something like I'm doing, like, oh, we're not supposed to be doing that, but like, why not?
Right. Because they're not used to it. And that's the great thing about the internet is we get to create what we want to do. Like you said, you have a podcast. That's why I love encouraging athletes. I'm like, you're not just a basketball player. I've always told them that. Do other things outside of basketball, like play basketball, but also start a clothing line or start your own podcast or start a series. And now you see basketball players becoming full-blown brands. Like LeBron's really obviously a pioneer for it. He's got production companies and media outlets and agencies. And I think that just shows that you can be a great player and also do stuff off the court. And that goes with any artist, like, you know, for sure.
Well, for sure. And I think also too, it's like, it's so crazy. It's like, it went, I think when I saw the kids wearing like the face masks of the Cassy Athena, it's cool because which I love. And I told you, I admire your work ethic because I think in a trying time that we are right now in the country and in the world, like you didn't just sit back and was like, oh, you know what? I'll just wait for my next gig. Like, no, you used what you had and you were like, hey, let me develop something. And then look what's coming out of it. Probably something that you didn't think was going to be anything. You just probably did it out of either boredom, passion, you know, maybe a little bit of both. But how is it for you to see like them in the bubble? Like, and because all eyes are on sports now, you know, because there's nothing else going on. Like, what is it like for you to see like NBA All-Stars walking out of the Western Conference semifinals with like Cassy Athena shorts? Like, how does that feel for you?
I mean, it's like, it's still surreal. Like every time somebody wears it, I get super excited, no matter what level they're on, you know? So I remember, so in March, I flew up to go watch the Pelicans play the Sacramento Kings because I wanted to see Zion play against like all the young guys. I flew up there, and then right when they were warming up before the game, everybody started talking about, oh, Rudy Gobert got COVID, Rudy Gobert. And I was like, no, like, please don't shut this game down. Like, I really want to take pictures. And then the game got shut down before it started. And I remember I called my mom and I was like, they shut down the season for a month. Now they're saying it could be longer. Like, I don't know what to do. You know, I'm going to be stuck at home. And my mom was like, you better figure out something else to do. Like, to her, because my parents and my brother and stuff have been working this whole time. They just have jobs that didn't shut down. But they were like, you can't just sit at home and do nothing. You got to get creative. My mom kept saying, it's times like this that like millionaires are made and successful people are made. It's times where everybody else is sitting around feeling sorry for themselves or doing nothing but watching Netflix all day. This is your time to like try to be, you know, productive. And it was just interesting to me because all I'm thinking is I'm going to just sit around and just chill. And my mom was like, no, you got to keep working. And so when I got back, I did kind of chill for a while. And then I was like, you know what, I got to figure something out. And then I linked up with a designer. And so he's been working on my clothing with me. And at that point, there was no bubble. There was no season. We were just doing it for the hopes of when stuff comes back, maybe somebody will wear my stuff. And as we were making everything, the bubble situation happened. And then it just so happened I got my merch like a week like into the bubble starting. And then I was like, hey, maybe we could send stuff to the bubble. And I did. And like all these people were wearing it. I would say I sent it to probably like 30 people and like 29 of them wore it, you know, at least like on camera.
That's how I felt too. I was like, yo, it almost felt like it was like sponsored by, like, because that's how I felt too. I was like, yo, this is everywhere. And I was telling my homeboy, I'm like, oh, because he's like, we were watching the game and I'm like, oh, those are my homegirl's shorts. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, she's a photographer. He's like, oh, crazy. And then I'm seeing every player with them almost seemingly. You know, I like
Yeah,
the because I like the one with all the fonts. I mean,
yeah,
I like the one with all the Cassy Athenas, and then I like the new ones that you've released with the bottom. Those are
yeah,
dope.
yeah.
But that's
So
so cool to see that. Like I said, it's like, you know, you're not just a photographer, you know?
right. And
You
it
kind
just
of be
wasn't
whatever.
planned, you know. That's why, and I never ask anybody to wear my stuff. Like, you're probably the same way. Like, you send photos, you're not like, bro, give me a shout out, you know? Like, you
Nah,
just
those
want
days are
them to
done. Yeah.
genuinely post your content. And if they do, then you're like, you kind of also know who supports you now. Like, in my head, I know who is like,
Who's
is
rocking with you?
supporting me. Yeah, and I know a lot of players that were like, I didn't wear it on camera, but here's pictures of me wearing it, you know,
Mhm.
golfing in the bubble or something. So it's like, I know a lot of people are supporting it, and it's just, it makes me feel a lot better versus if I was like, please wear it, or I'm trying to get it sponsored. Because that's what
Mhm.
most clothing lines do, or most companies do, is they have to go through a stylist and pay these people off. Me, it was like, just send it directly to them if they wear it, cool. If not, and yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, when I first saw it, I was like screaming. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is
that's no, it's
crazy.
so cool, and it's like you're keep, and they seem to like it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're wearing it. It's not like it's not like you say, you're not forcing them to wear this. You're not like, hey, listen, I'm paying you 10 grand. You got to wear my stuff. Like they're
Yeah.
wearing this on their own thing. Like
Yeah.
the more stuff you come out with, the more this is going to just keep growing. So, I mean, I hope it's just so interesting to me how just a simple watermark on a photo has became like a staple now, not only in the photo industry, but now, like, I mean, who knows what's next for you, like in this design, like fashion world, you know? So it's so cool to see something so like genuine and simple, something that you just, you know, follow your heart. Cause I'm big on that. Like, you know, just following your heart, do what you want to do. Cause you know what, you don't want to look back and regret things.
Right.
So cool to kind of see it kind of come to fruition and continue to grow. So I just really wanted to kind of touch base on that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, thank you.
Also, yeah, my next question, and I think we both kind of can relate about this one, is I wanted to talk to you about how different it is when you first started photographing hoops versus now. And because a lot of people will ask me, hey, because I came up in the high school scene, I think similar to you, which
Yep.
when it was like New York City basketball, AAU, and then it kind of grew from there. And I know I think you came up that way too, but I know many more years in the basketball world. And I know a lot of kids will ask me, hey, what games do I need to go to, or what high schools do I need to photograph to get to shoot, you know, Kawhi Leonard or Zion? And I'm like, not everyone's path is the same, you know?
Right.
So I know that I want you to kind of dive into like how it was for you when you first started photographing hoops, like what year, what were some of the players, and like the whole like atmosphere then versus now.
Yeah. I mean, to the beginning, when I first bought my starter camera was 2009. And then I was just taking pictures of like the guys at my local college. So I wasn't even shooting anybody. There's never been an NBA player from my college. Like I was just shooting for the passion. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that like that's the core of it. A lot of people want to shoot celebrities, but they don't want to learn the craft and the skill of actually being a good photographer. So that's how I started. And then a couple years later in 2011, I kind of started backwards. I started with NBA players and then started working with high school players. Because I found the Drew League. So the Drew League was just like an anomaly because it was the NBA lockout and these guys just had nowhere to go. And not
Wow.
just the Drew League, they would say, hey, come to my block party or come to this private workout. And, then I met guys like Paul George, Brandon Jennings, Nick Young, Swaggy P, like DeMar, all these guys. So I started like taking pictures of these guys and I was like, I made it. Like my first year trying to be a photographer, I'm shooting NBA players, like I'm about to get hired, everything. And when that summer ended, not one person would hire me at all. Like they were like, you're not a real photographer. Just because you shot players over the summer doesn't mean anything. And so then I was kind of back to square one of like, what do I do? So during the NBA season, I had a regular job. I worked as like a visual effects producer on TV shows and movies. And then when the summer would come, I would just shoot like
Really? No, because we never see. This is good. Like me and you have literally had drinks and food, and I didn't even know this about you. So I'm hyped right now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I went to school for animation and visual effects. I wanted to be like a computer artist and do visual effects, like the green
Mm-hmm.
screens and all that stuff. And that's what I went to school for. And then I ended up interning at a studio for like 12 months and I got hired. And I used to work on all the major TV shows and movies, like
Wow.
doing all kinds of, but it was horrible because I was working like 12, sometimes 24 hours a day. And I was working, 40 to no, closer to 80 hours a week. Yeah. So it was like really bad. I was working every day, crazy. But what I would do is like I would work all day and I would get off work and I'd go to a local basketball game, like Long Beach State or whoever. So during the season, it was like working and trying to do it. Then the off season was kind of when I had the time to flourish. And all these players started to trust me, get to know me, like, hey, I want you to take pictures of this and that.
Crazy.
So then my job.
And what year was this? What year was this? This was 2009?
This was 2011 I got hired.
11.
End of 2011.
9 years ago.
Yeah. So the lockout happened and then I got hired there and then I was like, okay, let me just try this visual effects thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I worked there for probably a year and they let me go. They said I talked about basketball too much and I was like too obsessed with basketball.
It was your calling the whole time. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, I can't help it. And then the owner of the company sat me down and he was like, look, we're going to have to let you go. But, you know, he was like, you need to follow your passion. Like basketball, photography is your passion. And I was like, I need money. Like I don't have a job. And so what he ended up doing is he had a brother that worked at Fox Sports. And he was like, how about I get you into your first NBA game to take pictures so you can get a taste of what it's like. So it was weird. Like they let me go, but then they also like entered me into this whole world. So he followed through and I got to sit courtside and shoot a Clipper game. This is the beginning of 2012. And it was like, you know, DeAndre Jordan and, you know, Blake Griffin, like all these dudes, and I kind of knew them from the summer and I got to know them. And then I was like, okay, I got to figure this out, you know? And then 2013, I got hired. I got flown out for free to go shoot Elite 24, the Under Armour Elite 24.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not going to pay you, but like, we'll pay for your travel. All right. So I flew out there and that year was like D'Angelo Russell, Devin Booker, Kelly Oubre, Stanley Johnson, like that class. And at that point, that's 2013. So social media was like not a thing. Like these kids now know how to work social media. Back then it was like, you know, I'm trying to ask for their email addresses to send them pictures. They're like, why? You know, they don't understand
it was not the same way it is now where it's like, oh, here, I'm going to just text Stanley a photo. He knows what's going, you know. Yeah.
Right, and they have millions of followers. Back then it was just like, they didn't get it. So I sent them pictures and that's where I developed these relationships. And I was like, okay, I need to start working with more high school players, get to know them and their families, and then I can kind of like travel along with them as they grow.
Yeah, with their journey,
Yes, because all those players, you know, some of them I'm closer with than others, but I know all of them now, and they're, you know, making all kinds of moves in the NBA. You know, they're superstars. And so every year I just was like, okay, and I started shooting Pangos, which is in LA, and I started shooting a lot of just high school tournaments. You know, a lot of the big tournaments, Adidas and Nike wouldn't let me shoot. I was like, that's fine. I'll find some other random like AAU tournaments. And that's kind of how I started. And then as they would grow, I started trying to shoot college games, NBA. So then I got this mixture of everyone. So basically going back to your question is like in the beginning, you know, AAU tournaments would be like me shooting and maybe like the person hired for the tournament.
That's what I wanted to ask is like, what was the like as far as atmosphere wise in 2011 to 2013? Like it wasn't there was no media, right? Quote unquote high school media there, right?
Yeah, especially not for off-season basketball. Like when I tried to be a photographer after, you know, the lockout and all that stuff, they were like, nobody cares about what players are doing in the off season. That's what these outlets would tell me all the time. I had video, I had pictures of sneakers and outfits. They're like, nobody cares. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm like, I'll just post it on my own page. And so I just noticed, like, I would go to the Drew League, just to think about it, in 2011, when I showed up, I was the only person taking pictures. And then video, there was Ball is Life, Hoop Mixtape, and like Marsville. That's it. So there's like 3 videographers on this side, and I was the only person taking like still photographs. And I barely knew how to take pictures. I was just kind of winging it.
You were just doing it though. You didn't wait to get perfect. You were like, hey, I'm gonna just do it, and then I'll perfect this thing. I'll figure this thing out along the way. You didn't wait, which is I always tell people that, like, stop waiting for this perfect moment. Like, just go ahead and do shit, and it'll come. You know.
Yeah, you gotta sometimes learn on the job. And when I look back now, my pictures were awful. I was shooting on automatic. They were blurry, but it was like people still loved the pictures because I was capturing moments. But yeah, it was nobody there at all. And I would say 2011, I was the only one. 2012, I was the only one. 2013 is when Nike took over, and they kind of changed the whole dynamic of the Drew League. And they brought in a lot more photographers, and then you start getting more like press. you know, so all the stuff that I was doing and like all the video guys, we kind of started making the Drew League turn into like this internet phenomenon, which started in turn bringing more media because they're like, oh, I want to shoot these players in LA. So then by the time, you know, Nike came in, it was like people were lined up to take pictures. And now if you go to a Drew League game, I mean, it's like, you can't even stand on the sidelines. There's too many people. So same with AAU, like AAU tournaments, like no one cared about high school games. Like I remember, you know, even guys like Zion, like I was shooting him at an Adidas tournament. I barely knew who he was. And, you know, there was maybe a couple photographers there, but really nobody wants to shoot high school kids for free in their off time or NBA players for free in their off time. It was just like, what's the point? If I'm not getting paid, I don't want to do it.
And look at it now. Look at that market now.
Yeah.
It's super oversaturated.
Yeah, and now it's like
wild.
Everybody wants to shoot. I mean, I go to Sierra Canyon games, even Sierra Canyon, right? I live 15 minutes away from the school, you know, so I used to go back. I used to shoot. Marvin Bagley went there. There's a lot of other local guys that went there. And it was still like, I remember going to a lot of Sierra Canyon games and I was the only person taking pictures. And I'm just doing it half the time for free because I want to support the kids, you know. And then now this year, you know, Sierra Canyon is selling out arenas that hold the Timberwolves. You know what I mean? So
that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And a lot I was telling my friend, like, I'm like, it's, go ahead.
No, I was just saying a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, you're hopping on the bandwagon or this and that. But it's like, I was shooting.
You've been doing this.
Cool.
You've been, whoever told you that, you got to let them know I've been doing this. Like, check the resume.
Right.
People are so ridiculous. Check the resume.
Anyone who knows me knows I don't shoot players just because if they have hype, you know, like I've never been like that. I think it's great. You know, now you get all these players like that just know how to work their social media, get lots of following, but then it attracts like every media person.
Everybody.
Like, I get a shout out from Mikey or Bronny, then I'm on. And it's like, it doesn't, I've gotten shout outs from everybody possible, from LeBron to Drake, whoever. And it's not like, you know, it's not like my career is just, okay, and now I'm good. Now I don't have to work.
No, you gotta keep working.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of these people, a lot of these young people don't understand. They think that they need to get off the gram and get off this like false gratifications. Like, you can get a shout out, you can get 1,000 likes, but guess what, man? Like, I know people that have a ton of following and they're not busy working because they're just like internet people, you know?
Yeah. And that's
so crazy.
LA has a lot of Instagram famous people. And
oh my God, you guys are
not the same in person.
You guys, I'm telling you now, both coasts, you guys are filled with, and you know this, you guys are filled with like the hype beast clout guys out west.
Of course.
And then like I don't see it as much over here by me, but by West Coast definitely a lot.
Yeah, because we have Hollywood, so everybody wants to come here, and they act a certain way, expecting like this is how I make it big. But at the core of it, even, you know, I get DMs all the time, and I'm sure you do. Like, how do I shoot these famous NBA players? And it's like, if you want to be I never was a photographer thinking I'm gonna shoot all these celebrities. I literally was shooting my friends to get better because I liked it. So
exactly.
It's like and the work is too much. Like, it's a lot of work to edit, a lot of work to shoot, a lot of work to set up. So if you don't like the work, I mean, the amount of time I spend with like celebrities versus how much time I'm spending by myself with my cat right here editing pictures, you know, like it's more of that than it is hanging out. You know, I think they feel like the lifestyle is so glamorous without realizing how much work really goes into it.
Exactly. No, I mean, you just absolutely nailed that on the head. Cause it's like, I do get those DMs. It's like, hey, how can I shoot an NBA game? Or how can I shoot an NBA player? And I'm like, I don't have this formula that's going to get you there. Like, I'll tell you how it happened for me, but that's just my path. Just like your path was your path and mine was mine. And everyone's things is different, but also it's like when you get there, like, yo, to shoot an NBA game, it's not easy at all. It's cool. You're in the arena, but there's a lot of work that goes into it as far as, you know, like what story you're telling, editing, you know, there's so much that goes into it. And when you're doing like a campaign, the same thing. Hey, how are you going to light this stuff? How are you going to do this? What looks are we going to do? I mean, it's awesome lifestyle, but it's a lot of work. And I agree with you. A lot of these people that are coming up now, they just see the outside and how cool it looks, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. And I agree with you. Like I was telling a young kid the other day, I was like, I didn't pick up a camera and thought, hey man, one day I'll be like traveling and shooting like athletes. It just happened. I don't know, you know, it just kind of happened, similar to what you say. It's like you didn't pick up your camera like, man, one day like I'm gonna hang out and be cool and photograph all these like NBA All-Stars and NBA players. Like it just kind of happened in life, you know?
For sure. Definitely.
I think also too, and I know you'll agree, it's like, doesn't it feel like, because even you started before me in the grassroots, but on the East, so from my vision, you were the first one obviously doing it on a national level, but you're from the West Coast. So when I had got into it here, there was no one in New Jersey, New York doing it at all, like high school. So, and at the time when I got into it, like Nasri, Javon Cornely, Scotty Lewis, Brian, they were all in high school. So when I started shooting, they were in high school. So it kind of like, it was like a perfect storm. You had a good
group of guys, yeah.
I had a really good group of guys, Cole Anthony, Moses Brown. So I had a good group of guys when I started shooting, but at that time there was no Slam. There was Slam magazine, but there wasn't no Slam like video. Yeah, there was no overtime, like all that overtime Slam stuff had just begun right when I started. Yeah. Very similar to what you're saying when you started with the Drew League. It was kind of just like the perfect storm in a way, Yeah. So it's like that's what I was explaining to people. It's like everyone's path's different, It's like everyone's it's timing. It's like it's a lot of shit that goes into it. But now it's like, don't you feel like if you go to a high school game, it's like the NBA finals as far as like media?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's groupies at AAU games. There's like cameras.
It's literally like All-Star Weekend.
Cell phone is a photographer now, so.
It's literally like All-Star Weekend. I remember I went to this one called the City of Palms. I don't know if you've ever been to that one or heard of it.
I've heard of it.
It's in Fort Myers. So when I went down there in 2017, I was the only photographer. Slam and Overtime had just started doing video. There was no other like shooter down there photo wise. And that's when like James Wiseman was like a sophomore, junior, and no one was there. Now, if you go to these tournaments, it's literally like you might not even get in as a media member. It's like literally the NBA finals.
Yeah.
Crazy, like the scope and like how it's changed so much. I'm sure you've seen such a jump from 2011 to 2020.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's a good thing for the guys though. Like I get so excited for the players. So like you were talking about photographers, how a lot of them tend to hate on each other. I had a lot of that coming up, they were like, don't be a photographer. You'll never make money. Don't do this. And it was always like a competition with these older photographers who work for whatever, like leagues or for brands. And then I'm like, we're here for the players. This is for the players. And now you're starting to see a lot of like photographers taking pictures more for the players. Like it's kind of shifting, it's not so much of like, pay attention to me, I'm the main photographer. It's like now there's too much competition. So now you have to find a different strategy. The only thing that I could say, and I just thought about where I saw you last, was the Top 100 camp last summer. And it was right. And remember, it's nobody. And that was my second year ever shooting that, right?
That was my first one.
It was like, it was so interesting because like there's just like last year you guys were there and there was like some video and pictures, but even the year before it was like one other photographer and me. And then that year, I know you came for like a couple days, but like I was the main photographer and it was like, that's it. So it's like, it was kind of different because I'm shooting all these top players and I don't really have to worry about like competing with 30 other cameras, 40 other cameras. So that was an interesting setting, but that's about like, I would say that atmosphere is kind of what all these other tournaments were like before. Like now. Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it, is like you getting some shots, me getting some shots, and that's it. Now it's like, I mean, you go anywhere, it's crazy.
It's wild. It's like the jungle. And also too, for like to kind of just branch off that too, it's like I said, I never went to photo school, so I didn't, I'm as I got into it, I'm learning like obviously there's like etiquette, there's people, and I see how people get angry if you're like in their spot or whatever, who's the main shooter, the second shooter, like for me, I just want to go in there and do a good job and move around. Like me and you have coincided in the same place. Yeah. And obviously we're friends, so there's never been an issue, but I don't even like being around people that make it a big deal. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Like like they're like, oh, he's going to get my shot. Like who cares? Like, okay. Yeah. Like who cares, dude? It's literally a fucking arena. We can shoot wherever we want. Like as long as I'm not running in your shot, like why are you giving me the side eye? Like my bad, and I think a lot of it's like, me and you don't look very traditional in the sense of like, like there's not a lot of women photographers, right? You're cool with the players. Like me, I've like, I'm tatted up and I dress how I dress. You dress how you dress. We're not like that traditional feel. So I think rubbed a lot of like the old school people, not everyone, but
swag.
Yeah, let's just, we have swag. All right. We'll say
they get mad because we look cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And the players are like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah,
Speaking,
but I'm
and
working
I
on
want to
it.
talk about this. Being a woman in the man's industry, like, I guess, how does it feel? I mean, just, I guess, how does it feel? Because I feel like I love what I'm seeing. More and more women are being empowered
Yeah,
to be CEOs and be creatives and be in front of the camera and be behind the camera and be in roles that they are well deserving. And I love where it's going. You've
right.
kind of been through it, in the past 9 to 10 years, where I'm sure it was very like, oh, a girl, versus now it's like, I think that we're pushing more women to the front. Like, how do
Yeah.
you feel now being a woman in a quote unquote man's industry? And like, I guess, where do you see the future for someone like you, or like another young girl that wants to come up and be the next Cassie or be her own person? Where do you
Yeah.
see the future for that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see it going up even when I started. And a lot of times now I go to a lot of games and I'll be, maybe now it's changing, but for the most part, I'm really like the only female shooter at most places that I go. I don't really notice it, but when I do look around, I'm like, okay, like there really are no other females here. So I think the way that it starts is somebody kind of has to not have those barriers set up. Like, to me, I never thought like, wow, I don't see any people doing it, so I can't do it. Like my mom's from Serbia. She just raised me to like, you do whatever, you work hard, and no matter what you think, you could do it. And so like, to me, I've just always felt like it's never been a barrier, because my mom's also a businesswoman and she came from a foreign country. So I'm like, okay, like I don't have anything stopping me. Like I could do it. So I've
And
always
they're,
just had
they're
the
the immigrant,
mentality.
the immigrants grind is different, right?
Oh yeah, like they don't play
They're,
around,
they
like
don't
there's
play
no
around.
downtime, like and they've just always, she always encouraged me like, you can do anything you want. Like don't let anybody stop you. And I'm like, okay, even though I have society telling me girls don't like sports, girls don't like basketball, you don't know anything, and I'm like, whatever, I'm going to just do it. And what was really cool about it is like I would be around these people, and unfortunately I did meet a few female photographers that were very, very mean to me. And I looked up to them. I told them like, I'm a fan of yours, and they would, don't try to be in my space, like back up, like I'm the main photographer, same stuff like you were talking. And it
Yeah.
became like I was very threatening to them, and I was not even trying to be like that. And it really discouraged me, because I'm like, you actually could encourage other women, and she didn't want anybody to do it. She wanted to be
You
the
could
only
change the
one.
game. You could be a,
Yeah,
she could have been, and I know who you're referencing to. She could have been she could have been a
sure.
pioneer. And
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And it's like
yeah,
something that and I feel like that's something that you're doing and going to continue to do, is like empower these women to do it, man. You know how cool it is? Like,
yeah,
you have like young girls that want to be, and how cool that must have been, like, for you to tell that girl like, yo, I look up to you. But
yeah.
instead her foot is so far up her ass that she can't just, appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's
But
cool.
then
That's
people
cool.
like that, they don't last long, because now we're in a new technology age, we're doing things different. So, like I kind of, and it was her, and there was a lot of guys too that were very like, I'm not going to help you. And then I found maybe like one or two photographers in LA who were like OG photographers. So that helped me. And the main one is this guy named Arnold Turner. And I know you probably not heard of him,
Mhm.
but he's a big like red carpet, like Hollywood industry lifestyle photographer out
Yeah.
here. He's shot everyone from like Tupac, Aaliyah, like he's like OG
Legendary.
photographer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he took me under his wing, because I would shoot like music artists. I'm in LA, like you're gonna shoot more than just basketball. So I'm shooting the game, the rapper. He'd take me places. And Arnold like took me under his wing, and he taught me how to like be social. He was like, look, you're a pretty female, like use that to your advantage, be friendly, go out there, don't ever feel like anybody's gonna look at you different. Like you
Mhm.
stand out, so you make yourself stand out more,
I like
and
that.
be remembered. And he pushed me to like really be social, and he taught me how to interact with people. That's why I've even noticed, like as you see when you go to events and there's a lot of photographers, and like crowd, I'm like, come on, everyone get together in a picture. And I'm like, okay with directing people. Like I'm not scared to direct people. So
Mhm.
I learned a lot of that from being around event photographers in LA, like him. And there was some photographers like that who kind of helped mold me into where I am now. It wasn't just basketball photographers, and I was okay. And that's how I kind of felt like I never fit into the photography world, because I hear people all the time, like, you don't go to photography conventions, you don't hang out with other photographers. And I'm like, not really, because what I'm doing is so different. Like I was the
Mhm.
only basketball, like lifestyle photographer, and I'm shooting this stuff, and people that are in that space, it was more so they work for the NBA or they work for a
Makes sense.
brand,
Yeah.
or,
Mhm.
so I kind of built my own path. And now I have girls all the time messaging me like, wow, I see you did it. Like, I want to do it. And so I've tried to encourage people. I've taught like a lot of people out here, females too, like how to shoot and do stuff. And I don't take credit. I don't go around like, you see that girl, I taught her. Like, I don't do stuff like that. Like, I get happy seeing that somebody was passionate. I kind of helped them a little. And then now they kind of, you know, they pick my brain and then they do their own career. And I think it's really cool, you know, in general, to see more women. And the biggest people that helped me throughout my whole career was the players, because the players never looked at me as like, oh, this one female, we're going to help her out. It was like, she takes dope pictures and I trust her. And like, that's that. And they never looked at me as like a male or female. Like, it was just, you're just dope. You're just
dope. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I still have trouble. Like I still have trouble getting into certain spaces, you know, corporate spaces to work at certain things. And I'm like, that's okay. But I have the players and I have a fan base I built on social media. So I don't need those spaces anymore. One time it was like, oh, I want to be an NBA photographer. I want to work for the LA Times. And now I'm like, I'm cool just being Cassy Athena. You know, I built my own platform. Yeah.
I love that. Last question before, as we slowly wrap up. So in a couple sentences, if you can give me this answer, where does Cassy Athena see herself in 5 years? And when I say that, like you and your brand, like where is it in 5 years? Like, paint that picture for us.
Man, so if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have never told you like where I'd be at now. I mean, besides
which is exciting.
Yeah.
Besides
the pandemic. I don't know. Like, honestly, like my whole motto is to just like not really think too much about the future, because then you start to stress and get like anxious. So I'm just kind of like going as I go, like wherever God takes me, I'm going to just go to it. But I mean, as far as in my head where I would like to be, I don't know. I want to keep doing my clothing line. I want to keep doing photography, but I also want to expand more. You know, I used to do a lot more video. I got tired of editing video. That's worse than editing pictures.
And any videographer and video editor that watches this and follows me and Cassy, I'm sure we both have so much respect for you, because I can't do it. Like this podcast I'm doing here, I send this out to someone, I pay him, and he does it for me, because I cannot do it.
But this is still pretty straightforward. Even like your day in the life vlogs, like I know that's a lot of work.
I didn't do any of that. I the same kid that's editing this edited that for me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because you start looking, you're like, how did I film hours of content?
I ain't doing that. I am not doing any video editing. You can't cut any check for me to do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot. So
you'd like to get more into video, maybe?
But I want to start doing like YouTube stuff. So I've never really been I'm not good at interviewing people. Like, you're doing a really great job right now with podcasts. So I don't want to do the whole podcast route, but I kind of want to start my YouTube channel back up, but do more stuff about me sharing my journey. Cause I feel like a lot of people, they ask me the same questions all the time about how you started, or just different questions, even how you're asking now. And I want to feel like, I want to just
look at my
like
YouTube
my own platform. Huh?
You want to be like, hey, just here's this YouTube link. Here's the answers to all the questions.
But
I think you should. That'd be so good. Like,
yeah,
even do like, I mean, there's so much avenues you can go off YouTube. You can get obviously sponsorships. You can show on what you use, what gear you use, how you edit. Yeah. I mean, your day in the life. Like, that'd be awesome if you did that. That's the route that I want to go into, like, just to expand from photo. Cause like you always said, you want to be multifaceted.
Right. And you want to have different areas. Like kind of random, but during quarantine, I started gardening, you know, so I started going in my backyard and doing gardening, and I don't know anything about gardening. So what I did is I'd go on YouTube and I would watch videos of like these people, and it was like young people, and they're showing like, this is how you plant the seeds and do this and that, and just like taking care. And I would spend hours, like no joke, watching these videos on YouTube, and they were like really good quality videos. It's like these young people doing it. And I was like, wow, is there a space for somebody that does sports photography on YouTube? And I really couldn't find people on there at all. So, you know, like, I was like, okay, that kind of gave me the idea and the motivation to just share my journey. You know, I'm not, like you said, like you didn't go to school for it. I didn't either. I kind of learned a lot of stuff from the internet. So like, why not pass that knowledge on to the next people that want to learn how to do it? Yeah.
I love that. I mean, we can do this again. I'll be on the East Coast doing my YouTube. You be in the West Coast, and then we'll end up traveling the world and doing like YouTube series.
Yeah, and we'll have
I
to
agree
get
with you.
some video one time together. And
Yeah, no, exactly. And I agree with you. And that's why I kind of like, I always would take footage of myself at shoots and stuff like that. And I was like,
yeah,
man, I'd love to put it together. But then during the pandemic, I started putting it all together because I'm like, I agree with you. There's no one in our industry that's doing this shit where it's like, oh, yo, I'm hanging out with whatever, DeMar DeRozan. This is my shoot with DeRozan, or here's his barbecue. Like, imagine you had all that shit behind the scenes. That'd be legendary.
for sure. And
So
that's
yeah,
why
I hope you do that. That'd be awesome.
Like the behind the scenes stuff that you got, like that's priceless. You know, a lot of people don't even think to film themselves when they're working. So I want to do stuff like that. Yeah. So that's kind of where, and then we'll just see where that takes me.
See where that takes you. Yeah. And I think that's the best thing. It's like kind of like you said with your clothing, like you didn't do it with something in intent. You're just doing it and see where it goes. Like here with this podcast or my YouTube channel, if I get 1 view or 1 million, like I don't care. I just don't want to live life. I don't want to look back 5 years from now and be like, man, I should have done that. You know, I just, at least I can be like, hey, I gave this a real shot. And wherever comes from it, comes from it. So I'm just going to rapid fire this and obviously whatever you can. All right. So, all right, Cassy. All right. So your favorite NBA team?
The politically correct answer.
Oh my God. This is why I'm like nervous to ask you these questions because I know like.
I'm a Laker fan. Like hardcore, deep down, every NBA player I'm around knows I'm a Laker fan.
Okay, cool. Because I really hope they win on Friday.
But I do like Bam and Kelly and Myers. So I'm hoping the Heat, like at least Game 7 or something. But
chill, girl.
Deep down, I'm a Laker fan.
All right, cool. All right. You're not going to be able to answer this. I'm just going to ask you.
Anyways. I can answer them. Just ask me.
Your favorite player? Like who you're closest
player,
with?
How about my favorite player to photograph?
Okay, fine. Your favorite player to photograph?
I actually don't know what answer that is either. You know, I love.
You gave me the question and they couldn't even give me the answer.
I don't know.
There's no way you're gonna answer. That's hard.
I have two answers. There's on court and then there's off court.
Perfect. I like that.
On court, I mean, one of my favorite players to photograph is Christian Wood. He's on the Pistons.
Really?
Yeah, I shot him a lot last UCLA runs because he's just so versatile and he do these crazy moves all the time. And I was like, yo, like, you're my favorite player to photograph. I even told him that. And he's like, whatever.
That's cool. What about off the court?
Off the court, you know, I'm going to have to go with Josh Richardson and Bam Adebayo, like the two of those guys, like together. I like guys that are goofy, but also like being in front of the camera. So. Okay,
cool. I like that. Another tough question. What's your favorite photo? Or something that at least one of, if you could think of anything that you're like, wow, man, like.
Well, I would say like recently it's changed. Like when I was in New York and I shot that photo of LeBron at Chris Brickley's run. Yeah. And then LeBron reposted it. That was the first time I actually met LeBron. So it was kind of crazy that, you know, he posted it and gave me photo credit. That was big time. I have a lot of respect for that.
That was legendary. I remember, I think you were in New York and we were like supposed to like meet up and I think something didn't work out with timing. And then you went to that brick run and then like, you got that nice shot like that.
The whole background of that was crazy. So that was cool. Another picture I really like, I used to have it in here. I was at All-Star Weekend in Toronto and Under Armour hired me to shoot Steph Curry for a day. And we were, we had to go to a mall appearance and the traffic was really bad. So they decided to take a helicopter. So it was like me. Yeah, it was me. I'll never get on a helicopter again though, but it was me, Steph, Aisha, and like his bodyguard. And we flew
in a helicopter.
In a helicopter in Toronto at All-Star Weekend. Wow. And I'm taking pictures and then like a snowstorm happened while we were in the air. And it was so scary. Like the whole thing was shaking. It was just like snowing. So then we land finally and he gets out of the helicopter and I'm like, Steph, like stand right there because there was snow. I'm not used to snow. I'm from LA. And it's snowing everywhere and he sits there and I'm taking all these pictures of him. So it's like him like cold, like looking at me and just like a snowstorm in the background.
Wow. That's a badass story.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
What's one thing that no one knows about you?
That nobody knows about me? I don't know. I would say a lot of people don't know that I'm 6 feet tall and that I speak Serbian fluently. I say those are two.
I'll take that. Yeah. I've seen you, so I know. I've seen you, so I know that you're tall. But you're right. Not a lot of people have been graced with your presence, so to say.
And I speak. Yeah, and then I speak.
You speak fluent Serbian?
Yeah.
Legendary.
So it helps in the basketball world. There's a lot of Slavic guys. So.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah, there's Serbian, Croatian, like Luka.
Oh, that's all the
Doncic,
same. Like that's all the same. Like
language. Yeah.
okay, cool.
Former Yugoslavia.
One thing that's a misconception about you.
Yeah, I think I feel like a lot of people are scared to approach me because they think that I look like I'm mean sometimes. I feel like I have resting bitch face. And so like when they see me in person, I think a lot of people are nervous to approach me, and I'm actually a pretty cool person.
You're very, very nice.
I try to be very cool to everyone.
Yeah, you're very cool.
I don't like when people were mean to me. So I feel like if somebody were to approach me, as long as they weren't like acting super crazy, I would be, pretty easy to have a conversation with. So yeah, I guess cool. That would be.
All right, sweet. Yeah, I mean, I'm all good. I mean, I really appreciate you again, like just kind of coming on. And just chopping it up on a like a professional level and as a friend level, because I haven't seen you in a while. So it's been good to catch up. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna send you everything. I'm gonna pretty much have somebody edit this, and then I'll chop up like 3 to 1 minute clips.
Okay.
And I'll just send it to you just so you can have it, and then I'll be sharing it on my platform and my YouTube channel. So I'll send it to you when it's done, so you can like take a look at it.
Yeah, let me know. I definitely want to post it too. So
cool. You don't have your shorts like close to you, right?
I could grab them.
Can you just grab it? I just want to like give it like a plug.
I just learned how to tie dye, and I just tie dyed this shirt. I was all proud of myself.
That's badass, actually. Yeah.
I was like, let me get this. Hold on. I got a lot of shorts actually. Hold on. Dang. 2 seconds, Johnny. 2 seconds.
No, you're good.
All right. So I also brought an exclusive that nobody's seen that I'm gonna show just on your channel. So.
Oh wow, okay.
But these are the ones that I just came out with.
Yeah, I like those a lot. Those are tough, yeah.
Yeah, with the watermark, and I have like these ones I'm dropping this week. These are some gray ones.
Tough.
And then the white ones. Woo! I just did a photo shoot in them, so they're all worn.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's like subtle, but it looks really good.
And then this one nobody's seen yet. So these are like Miami Vice.
Okay. Those are tough.
I did.
You guys seen it here first, all right?
Yep, this is the first place I've shown it. So these are kind of like, I love the Miami Vice colors, if you can't tell, like that jersey and all that. So this is kind of the go with that. So
yeah, I love that. No, I'm glad. And thanks for sharing those. Yeah, those are fly.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll let you go. Let me just I just need to do something for my selfie. Just wrapped up Sunday dinner episode with my homegirl. Boom.
What's up?
Tune in, bitches. Yeah, thanks so much, Cass. Appreciate it. Stay in touch. I don't know if you have any plans to come to New York, but obviously if you do, hit me up. And I might head out west in December, so I'll shoot you a message.
You're always in LA. You never hit me. I'm like, you just did a whole shoot with Kawhi. And I'm like, what the heck?
Because a lot of those, it's just like I come there for the day and then I'll dip.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always on the go. That's dope. I'm glad you're doing so much, you have so much work. But every time I see the Kawhi commercials, I always think of you of like, or Anthony Davis, like in that gym. That's totally that athletic club or whatever. I could tell.
Yeah, it's the Los Angeles Athletica Club. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff too, it's like, I know like my friends, like now that I started sharing it, they'll be like, oh, wait, you did that? And I'm like, yeah, it's just because I have to hold on to them until like they get released. Like that Davis stuff I did was like in January.
That's why I hate doing photo shoots with companies because they're like, you got to wait. I'm like, I want to post it right now.
Because I saw it and I'm like, I love this photo, but I appreciate it. Yeah. So we'll link up soon.
Okay.
Keep in touch, my dear. Be safe. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thank you.
Right. No problem.
Bye.
Got you. Bye. All right, guys, there we have it. We have my homegirl, Cassy Athena. Make sure you guys follow her at Cassy Athena Photo. Real dope, just human being. I'm glad we had a chance here to chop it up. Thank you for tuning in to Sunday Dinner with Johnny Izquierdo, and looking forward to tuning in for the next guest, y'all. Peace out.